And let's finish the 10th chapter of the second book of A Tale of Two Cities. It's called Two Promises, and Charles Darnay is pouring out his love for Lucy Manette to her father, who is not receiving it well. I'm going to go back to the beginning of the paragraph where we were cut off. Dear Dr. Manette, always knowing this, always seeing her and you with this hallowed light about you, I have forborne and forborne as long as I was in the nature of man to do it. I have felt, and do even now feel, that to bring my love, even mine, between you is to touch your history with something not quite so good as itself. But I love her. Heaven is my witness. I love her. I believe it, answered her father mournfully. I have thought so before now. I believe it. But do not believe, said Darnay, upon whose ear the mournful voice struck with a reproachful sound, that if my fortune was so cast as that, being one day so happy as to make her my wife, I must at any time put any separation between her and you. I could or would breathe a word of what I now say. Besides, that I should know it to be hopeless, I should know it to be baseness. If I had any such possibility, even at a remote distance of years, harboured in my thoughts and hidden in my heart, if ever had been there, if it could be there, I could not now touch this honoured hand. He laid his own upon it as he spoke. No, dear Dr. Manette, like you, a voluntary exile from France, like you, driven from it by its distractions, oppressions, and miseries, like you, striving to live away from it by my own exhaustions, and trusting in a happier future, I look only to sharing your fortunes, sharing your life and home, and being faithful to you to the death, not to divide with Lucy her privilege as a child, companion, and friend, but to come in aid of it, and bind her closer to you, if such a thing can be. His touch still lingered on her father's hand, answering the touch for a moment, but not coldly. Her father rested his hands upon the arms of his chair, and looked up for the first time since the beginning of a conference. A struggle was evident in his face, a struggle with that occasional look, which had a tendency in it to dark doubt and dread. You speak so feelingly and manfully, Charles Darnay, that I thank you with all my heart, and will open all my heart, or nearly so. Have you any reason to believe that Lucy loves you? None as yet, none. Is it the immediate object of this conference that you may at once ascertain that with my knowledge? Not even so. I might not have the hopelessness to do so for weeks, the hopefulness to do so for weeks. I might, mistaken or not mistaken, have the hopefulness tomorrow. Do you seek any guidance from me? I ask none, sir, but I have thought it possible that you might have it in your power, if you should deem it right to give me some. Do you seek any promise from me? I do seek that. What is it? I well understand that without you, I could have no hope. I well understand that, even if Miss Manette held me at this moment in her innocent heart. Do not think I have the presumption to assume so much. I could retain no place in it against her love for her father. If that be so, do you see what, on the other hand, is involved in it? I understand equally well that a word from her father in any suitor's favour would outweigh herself and all the world, for which reason, Dr. Manette, said Darnay, modestly but firmly, I would not ask that word to save my life. I am sure of it, Charles Darnay. Mysteries arise out of close love, as well as out of wide division. In the former case, they are subtle and delicate and difficult to penetrate. My daughter Lucy is, in this one respect, such a mystery to me I can make no guess at the state of her heart. May I ask, sir, if you think she is— He hesitated, and her father supplied the rest. Is sought by any other suitor? It is what I meant to say. Her father considered a little before he answered. You have seen Mr. Carton here yourself. Mr. Stryver is here too, occasionally. If it be at all, it can only be one of these. Or both, said Darnay. I had not thought of both. I should not think either. Likely. You want a promise from me. Tell me what it is. It is that if Miss Manette should bring to you at any time on her own part such a confidence that I have ventured to lay before you, you will bear testimony to what I have said, and to your belief in it. I hope you may be able to think so well of me as to urge no influence against me. I say nothing more of my stake in this. This is what I ask, the condition on which I ask it, and which you have an undoubted right to require, I will observe immediately. I give the promise, said the doctor, without any condition. I believe your object to be purely and truthfully as you have stated it. I believe your intention is to perpetuate and not to weaken the ties between me and my other and far dearer self. If she should ever tell me that you are essential to her perfect happiness, I will give her to you. If there were, Charles Darnay, if there were. The young man had taken his hand gratefully. Their hands were joined as the doctor spoke. Any fancies, any reasons, any apprehension, anything whatsoever, new or old, against the man she really loved, the direct responsibility thereof not lying on his head, they should all be obliterated for her sake. She is everything to me, more to me than suffering, more to me than wrong, more to me, well, this is idle talk. So strange was the way in which he faded into silence, and so strange his fixed look when he had ceased to speak, that Darnay felt his own hand turn cold in the hand that slowly released and dropped it. You said something to me, said Dr. Manette, breaking into a smile. What was it you said to me? He was at a loss how to answer, until he remembered having spoken of a condition. Relieved as his mind reverted to that, he answered, Your confidence in me ought to be returned, with full confidence on my part. My present name, though but slightly changed with my mother's, is not, as you will remember, my own. I wish to tell you what it is, and why I am in England. Stop, said the doctor of Bouvets. I wish it, that you may the better deserve your confidence and have no secret from you. Stop! For an instant the doctor even had his two hands at his ears. For another instant, even had his two hands laid on Darnay's lips. Tell me when I ask you, not now. If your suit should prosper, if Lucy should love you, you shall tell me on your marriage morning. Do you promise? Willingly. Give me your hand. She will be home directly, and it is better she should not see us together tonight. Go. God bless you. It was dark when Charles Darnay left him. It was an hour later, and darker when Lucy came home. She hurried into the room alone, for Miss Pross had gone straight upstairs and was surprised to find his reading chair empty. My father, she called to him. Father, dear. Nothing was said in answer, but she heard a low hammering sound in his bedroom. Passing lightly across the intermediate room, she looked in at his door and came running back frightened, crying to herself with her blood all chilled. What shall I do? What shall I do? Her uncertainty lasted but a moment. She hurried back and tapped at his door and softly called to him. The noise ceased at the sound of her voice, and he presently came out to her, and they walked up and down together for a long time. She came down from her bed to look at him in his sleep that night. He slept heavily, and his tray of shoemaking tools and his old-fashioned work were all as usual. And that is the end of Chapter 10.